Good evening, everybody. My name is Chris Thomas. I'm the chair for the Manufacturing Special Interest Group. We have today the topic of competing in a new era to attract and retain talent with a focus in the manufacturing industries. And I just want to give Scott maybe a quick chance to introduce himself. Scott is the co-chair with me.
Hi, everybody. My name is Scott Myers. I'm currently the CFO for Pluralock and various backgrounds. But that's why I'm, a CFO for a cybersecurity company, but also in the manufacturing SIG, because that's where I spent most of my career. So thanks, Chris, for the chance to intro.
Sure. Thank you, Scott. And then I want to give it to Nikki. Nikki will start up the introductions for Insperity and then kick off the meeting, basically. Nikki, it's all yours.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. So thank you for jumping on today, everyone. And want to make sure. So I'm actually going to be passing it on to two of our senior HR specialists, Roger and Nadia. But I just wanted to give a quick highlight over, who is Insperity and what do they do for the folks who don't know. So Insperity is actually a very large company. So we're a publicly traded company, started in '86. And with over 4,000 employees and about $6 billion in annual revenues. And we started back in '86 with the intent of helping small and medium businesses with all things related to HR. Our founders realized that a lot of the times companies are started because they're really good at something that's not related to being an employer, right? So they have a really good product, they have a good solution, they have a good service, but they're not intending to be an employer and all the administrative burden that comes with that. And so that's how Insperity was started. And so, we have about, 12,000 clients in the US today. And so I'm an advisor, a business performance advisor with Insperity. And so my role is to really go out and sell the services, the expertise of the likes of Roger and Nadia. And so I'm super excited to have them on here today because what they do every day is help small and medium businesses, starting with 5 employees. Our biggest client has about 7,000 employees. But Roger and Nadia are in the space with 30 employees up to 150 employees. And so they live this every day, right? So they hear the conversations, they have the conversations with the Insperity clients about, how do we retain and attract talent? And so in particular, we will be given some examples what that looks like in the manufacturing industry. But for me, it's always awesome to say, hey, it's not about what I do. I'm a small part of it, but really what I'm selling is Roger and Nadia. So I'm excited to kick it over to you all. And Nadia, I'll let you start here, giving a quick introduction. And then if y'all have any questions, please feel free to submit them in the chat. And then at the end of the slide section, if you have any questions, you'll have my contact information. And so if you have any questions, if it's not necessarily Insperity related, we'll make sure to be a resource for you all. That's the whole purpose of Insperity. So, but Nadia, I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you so much, Nikki. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Nadia Lemon. I am a senior HR specialist with Insperity. I have been with Insperity for 5 years now. And part of what Roger and I, and I'll let Roger kind of speak about himself, but part of our abilities here with Insperity are to help kind of like he stated, small to mid-sized clients with all aspects of their HR needs. So this is anything from the entire employee life cycle. And so we partner with different clients, different industries, from employees starting in the recruiting section all the way up until the end of their life cycle with the organization, whether that's a voluntary termination or an involuntary termination. I have been in HR for over 15 years. A lot of my background involves hospitality, working with hotel management, and then sectors of technology, as well as now with Insperity and different other businesses as well. So now I'm going to kick it off. So Roger can do a little introduction and then kick off the show for us.
Sounds great. Thank you, Nadia. I think Nadia gave a great description of what our role is with Insperity. As with Nadia, I have been with Insperity. I will be completing 5 years this coming December. But I came into Insperity and with about 20 plus years of HR experience. I started my HR career in the manufacturing industry, and I was there for about 8 years. And but I've supported different industries. I've supported technology, automotive, uh, medical, pharmaceutical. Those are just some of the industries that I have supported in the past. And having supported all of those industries, I know the importance of attracting and retaining talent in a challenging and competitive market. So in several of my roles there, where I was the main HR person, talent acquisition was one of my primary responsibilities. So having said, I've been in the industry for 25 years, and things are not the same as they were when I first started my career 25 years ago. The uncertainty of the future is going to be a constant. Things are going to be changing, and if you don't prepare for that change, you're going to be lagging behind on your competitiveness, on being able to attract the right talent. And of course, not knowing the future can lead to a lot of anxiety, not only for the business, but also for their employees. One of the things that definitely has changed, and I saw that when I was in manufacturing, is automation or technology. We know that technology is a constant, and you may have the latest technology now, but within a year or so, it may be a little outdated. When I was in in manufacturing, we automated a lot of our production floor roles. So as we automated those, we knew that we had to change the skill set. We knew that we had to develop and train those employees that were in those roles. That also had to be an aspect of our recruiting strategy. We had to make sure that when we were going out there looking for new individuals to fill vacancies, we were actually looking for the right skill set and people who were going to be able to be adaptable and had the eagerness to learn something new. So basically, what we're doing now is not going to be, hopefully not what we're doing 5 years, 10 years from now. As technology increases, as the workforce changes, those are things that you as an organization have to be prepared for. You want to make sure that you have the technology, the processes, the efficiencies in place to be able to meet the demands of your customers or your clients, and also to be able to meet the demand to market. So what does that look like? You have to think about that strategically. What are we doing? Are we preparing for this? Are we preparing our organization? Are we preparing our people? And are we putting our strategy plan aligned with our people strategy? One of the other things that's also very important to know is the balance of power is shifting. What does that really mean? Well, the workforce is constantly changing. So I did a little bit of research, and I looked up a survey in the Society of Human Resource Management. And in that survey, it gave me what the workforce looks like right now. The traditionalist generation, which is from 1925 to 1945, that is such a tiny portion of the workforce population right now. It's 2%. The baby boomers at one point in time made the biggest percentage of the population. But as the baby boomers are aging, that percentage is steadily going down. More and more people are working a little bit longer, but that population is still exiting the workforce. Gen X and Gen Y, which is the generations that are from 1965 to 2000, those make up the majority of the workforce population right now. They make up 68% of the population. The Gen Z population is the newest population that is entering the workforce. And they're entering the workforce just as aggressively as the baby boomers are actually exiting. So those things are shifting. One of the other things that you have to make sure of is when you're looking at your recruiting strategies is how do we attract the right workforce. If we're going after the baby boomers, what's going to help them come over to our organization or help us continue with evolving or increasing our efficiencies? What's going to attract that Gen Z, the Gen Z that wants to be social, that wants to care, that cares about the environment, that wants to give back to the community? Do you have that in place to be able to attract that talent? So regardless of where the power may shift, there's things that are always going to be in place. People want to feel like they're making a contribution to the organization, either through their work, through their value. They want to feel that they're making a difference. They want to feel valued. That's one of the things that you have to think about. A lot of organizations feel that their workforce is their most valued asset. It's because without those employees, it will be hard to get out the product or the service that you're trying to provide to your clients and customers. Feedback is important, and again, look at the individual that you're working with. Is it a baby boomer? A baby boomer likes silent feedback. They appreciate that pat in the back, but they don't need a lot of public recognition. Now, if you look at a Gen Z, they're going to want more recognition. They want those attaboys. They grew up like that, so they want that recognition. Respect is going to be a big thing, regardless of which generation you're in. And another thing is, people want to continue to feel like they're learning something new. You have to develop your employees. You have to give them some sort of goals to feel that they are going to be continuing with the success of the company. When I first started in HR, it wasn't even called human resource. It was called personnel. And we were viewed by a lot of our leaders as basically order takers and tactical people. But as businesses continue to evolve, so did the HR profession. We became more of a business partner to our organization. So we showed our value. So regardless of where we are, there's always going to be tactical responsibilities and strategic responsibilities. But based on this, who I'm speaking to right now, we're going to focus more on the strategic part. But some of the tactical responsibilities are helping. HR is going to help you build your infrastructure. That means putting together your policies, your procedures, your job descriptions, your salary surveys. All of that is going to be important to help the infrastructure. HR is also responsible to make sure that you, as an organization, are compliant with any federal, state, and local laws that are in place. The other thing that's going to be very, very important is make sure that you have an effective onboarding process, because you want to start having that relationship with a new hire from the get-go. On the strategic side is some of the things that you as leaders may want to think about is, have you as a leadership met? Have you developed your vision and mission statement? Is that something that everybody lives by? Is that something that everybody supports? And have you rolled it out to your workforce? The other thing that's important is also, what are your core values? Have you defined what your core values are, and have you integrated those into hopefully some of the expectations of what you want your employees to do? The other thing is, as you put in your business plan, your strategy plan, you want to make sure that you work with your HR professional in creating an effective recruiting strategy, because that's going to help you either be set up for success for your future, or help you be able to be prepared when those openings come about due to terminations, retirement, or just exiting a workforce. The other thing that the strategy plan is going to help you is, you want to look at the big picture. You don't only want to look at what's going on now, but maybe look at what's happening 2 years from now and 5 years from now, and where you want to be. Because that strategy is going to not only involve the business, but it also has a people strategy involved in that. So every organization has an employee life cycle, regardless whether you're in manufacturing or whether you're in technology or service. That employee life cycle is the same for everybody. And it starts with attracting the right talent. Basically, what are you doing to attract and recruit the right skill set, the right individual for your organization? Do you have job descriptions? Do you have compensation salary surveys to make sure that you're competitive? At Insperity, we provide those services to our clients. We help them prepare job descriptions. We have a compensation team that helps pull data to make sure that you are being competitive in your market and with the roles that you are competing for. Onboarding. What does your onboarding look like? Is it a welcoming, open onboarding process for your new hires? If you don't have that initial onboarding where you make an employee feel comfortable and welcome, and you make them feel like they're going to be set up for success, that could be a turnoff for a lot of new hires. And if they don't feel like they're being welcome, more than likely you will see that a lot of that workforce will leave the organization within 3 to 6 months. As I stated earlier, continue to educate your employees, continue to develop the skills. It's going to be important, regardless of where that generation, that individual is as far as a generation, is they want to feel like they're learning something new. The other thing is you want to manage performance. If you have a job description in place, make sure you go over that job description as part of the employee's onboarding process, but also manage the performance. If an employee is not meeting the expectations, find out why that employee is not meeting the expectations. Is it a lack of training? Is it a lack of understanding? Is it a lack of having on-the-job training or needing further development to further skills? Manage that performance and set specific expectations. The other thing is you want to make sure that your employees are being motivated and they are kept engaged. One of the ways of doing that is seek feedback. One of the things that we also do here at Insperity that we provide to our clients is we provide stay surveys. We want to know, okay, after 90 days, what is your what did it feel like? Were you engaged? Do you feel like you had the right training? Do you feel like you're part of the team? Do you know who your peers are? Do you have a mentor? Do you have a buddy? So those are all things to help keep the employee motivated and engaged. Recognition, like I said, it really depends on the generational gap of how you want to recognize that individual. But recognition is going to be a big factor in trying to retain employees. And unfortunately, a lot of times people do exit the organization, and we want to bid them farewell. We want that experience to be the same as when they were onboarded. We want them to leave like they felt they were respected and with dignity, regardless of why they left the organization, because that's going to actually impact the brand that you've set for the organization. So like I said, one of the things that you want to do is you want to align your recruiting strategies based on your business needs. So first thing you want to do is you want to define your employer brand. What does that look like for you? What are your company's core values? Do you have a vision, mission statement that is being respected and lived by everybody, from your leaders down to your hourly employees? Does that employee brand include giving back to the community? Does that employee brand mean that you are setting specific expectations or core values for all of your employees? The other thing is explain what makes your company unique. What are you offering to attract the talent that you're looking for? Is it automation? Is it you're keeping up with the latest trends? Are you offering a special skills? Are you offering a special benefits? Are you being able to provide some sort of shift differential? Are you able to provide maybe a hybrid responsibilities, not for your production floor employees? We know that that's going to be very hard to do, but maybe for your administrative type employees. For your production floor employees, can you split shifts? Are you able to have a 4-4-10 or 3-12 shift for your employees to help them compress that work week? Be authentic about how you're creating your business plan, and also offer advice. It's always good to offer advice to career seekers and people who come in to interview with your organization. The other thing that we also feel that I have seen that's very successful is when you have employees give testimonials on your webpage as who we are. This is the reason I stay with company A, B, and C. And this is the benefits that I have that I feel I'm getting from working for this organization. So one of the biggest things that's come up recently is how do we hire for culture or do we hire for skill? Well, you got to think about that. Are you willing to compromise one for the other? If you have, let's say you have two individuals and both individuals seem to have, one of them seems to be the right skill set. However, when you interview them, they just don't seem to be the right fit for the organization. They just need to be very collaborative. They seem to be a loner and did not like to receive feedback. You have another individual who basically comes in and very eager, willing to learn new ideas, willing to learn on the job. So you have to decide which one's going to be a better fit for ours, and are you willing to compromise, and are you willing to invest for the culture rather than the skills? Are you willing to dedicate the time to bring up that individual skill set, to develop them, to give them the training that they need to make them successful in the role that you need? So when you're putting together your recruiting strategy, these are things that you may want to think about putting into your strategy plan. Are you going to hire for the culture and the values of the organization? And if you are, how are you going to go about that? Make sure in this role, we really want to make sure that you are putting diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives into your recruiting plan. Some of the benefits of putting these types of initiatives, it brings different perspective from different groups of people, whether it's age, whether it's society, whether it's different backgrounds, different educational needs. Those are things that will help you bring a different view, a different perspective. Also, what are some of the benefits that puts you aside from some of your competitors? So what are some of the perks? Make sure you highlight those. The other thing is compensation. I know that right now, especially in the manufacturing environment, not only are you competing with each other, but you're competing with a lot of the retail outlets. You're competing with the fast food chains. So you have to decide, okay, in order for me to compete, have we done these salary surveys to make sure that we're being competitive, not only with our pay, but also with our benefits to make sure that you're attracting that right individual. How do you attract the top talent? It's going to be important is what does your company brand look like? Your company brand is going to do a lot to attract the right individual because that brand is going to be building up on the reputation of the company. What are your employees saying about the organization? What is the community that where you are in saying about your company? Also, make sure that you're doing some research on your competitors. What are they doing that you may not be doing, or what are they doing that you're doing a lot better than they are? And make sure you highlight that when you're speaking with your candidates. As I said before, is make sure that you are performing competitive analysis and market service. As I said before, we at Insperity, we provide this service to our clients. We have a compensation team that will do those surveys for our clients, and that is very helpful. It helps our clients keep competitive in their specific industries. One of the biggest trends is social media. As you know, everybody nowadays is on social media. Where it used to be Facebook, Twitter, now it's X, Instagram, TikTok. You'll notice that the younger generation now is most commonly on either TikTok or Instagram. What are you doing to get on those platforms? What are you doing to promote yourself? What are you doing to be able to hopefully attract some of that audience that's on those platforms? Do you have is marketing collaborating with your HR department to create campaigns to help you attract those candidates on those platforms? And the other thing it's very important is make your application process mobile friendly. A lot of the people are hooked to their phones, as you know. So if you make the application process or your recruiting process mobile friendly, it's going to help you get things done quicker and faster. So make sure that if you're using an applicant tracking system, make sure that one, it's able to connect to the social platforms. Make sure that it's mobile friendly. So I talked about this at the beginning. How do you get better candidates? Start off with making sure that you have a comprehensive job description. That job description should have the essential responsibilities of that role, what your minimum qualifications are. But having a comprehensive job description is also going to help you create that posting that you need to put out there on Indeed, LinkedIn, or wherever, so that you can attract more people. So a lot of times that job descriptions is about how you're doing the job now, but it's not going to tell you how you're going to be doing the job maybe 3 or 5 years from now. So make sure that you explain that to your candidates, or even every now and then review that job description, review it and update it, because it is a living document. Things change, processes change, technology comes in. Make sure that you update those job descriptions. Also, conduct pre-employment screenings. I mean, one of the things is before HR sends the top candidates to your hiring managers, make sure they do some sort of pre-screening to make sure that they're going to meet the minimum qualifications. Another way to do that is, depending on the platform that you're using, whether it's LinkedIn or Indeed, there's qualifications that you can put in to help you weed out those employees that do not meet the minimum qualifications. And go beyond the surface of the interview. Sometimes, like I said before, is you may have those behavioral type interview questions, but a lot of times is, how did that employee come through in their eagerness to learn something? Were they eager? Were they inquisitive? They really want to know more about the organization, that they want to know more about the role, or were they just there for basically, yeah, I know I have this, and again, they may not have been a good fit for the culture. The recruiting experience is going to be very important for any candidate. The easier you make the process, the easier it is for you to generate more candidates. Make sure that the lines of communication are open. One of the things that, as an individual, when I was looking for a different opportunity, is when I would apply for a role, I would get a call back. I would get a call for initial interview, and then I would not hear anything from the recruiter. That basically keeps an individual out there in limbo, and that is not a pleasant feeling. So if you have a recruiter or HR is doing this for you, make sure that they keep those lines of communication open with that applicant. Either let them know that they are not a fit, or you decide to move in a different direction, or let them know that the job is being placed on hold for a while, and that you will get back to them once you're able to move forward with that. An applicant tracking system, if you don't have one, it's going to be a great tool to help you with this process, because it'll take it from the posting the job to the job offer to basically the onboarding. The other thing is, make sure you point out what makes you unique. I've said this before. What are you offering that some of your competitors are not offering? What sets you above your competitors or other manufacturing companies within your community? All right. Any questions?
Yeah, so there was a couple that popped up here, Roger. Let me just pull it up. So one of them was Greg saying, can you talk about, for manufacturing recruiting in particular, some he's running into that he's not necessarily just competing against other manufacturers, but he's also competing for how do I get the talent into manufacturing that
So
maybe aren't there currently.
I kind of touched on this a little bit during my presentation. So one of the things that you want to do is you want to make sure you do some competitive analysis. You also want to make sure that you are communicating your brand to the whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on LinkedIn, make sure that it's out there. A lot of employees go to Glassdoor and
Yeah.
put information about your organization. I would be doing some research to see what employees or others or maybe applicants are stating about you. Some of the things is sometimes, like I said, the skill set may not be there, but they may be eager to learn something new, and they may have the initiative or the initiative or willingness to learn something new. Are you willing to invest in that individual and train them?
Hey, Roger, maybe as a follow-up to that question, and I think it's part of the question which Greg put out there too, is, I mean, in manufacturing, sometimes it is really, really difficult to retain talent in general because there is so much out there in the market where people maybe want to go and work at the gas station or at, one retail shop around the corner. They pay maybe even better. It's not dirty work, right? Like if you are in manufacturing space. So how do you get about that, trying to get more people into manufacturing in general?
So that's one of the things, and believe me, I was in that situation when I was in manufacturing. Is we were losing talent to retail or to the fast food industry. We had to decide, what are we going to do to be competitive with them? And one of the things that we did is we had to sometimes we had to look at our compensation. Is it in line with, we could not just go with our industry. We actually had to take salary data for the industry where we were losing a lot of talent, and that was fast food. Okay. The other thing that we did when I was in manufacturing is we started to create progressions. Like if there was a lineman 1, lineman 2, lineman 3, so that they knew that there was going to be opportunity for development and growth, and actually an increase in pay. So we started putting those plans together for our employees so that they knew that there was opportunity for growth and they were actually going to be making more money.
Thank you, Roger.
Do we want to, just for the sake of time, do we want to move over to Nadia, and then we'll see if we can get some more questions? Because you asked one too, Chris, about DEI,
Right.
but maybe let Nadia handle that, and then let's see if we can address that at the end of it, if that's okay.
Sure, and Jay also added another question here, so we actually have 2.
Okay.
And if we don't get to your questions today, we will take them all, and we will definitely get back to you with some response to the questions that we have.
That would be great. Thank you.
All right, go ahead, Nadia.
Sorry for Sarah. Thank you guys. I was on mute for a second there. But hopefully, some of the questions that you guys brought up are hopefully some of the things that we're going to touch on just a little bit in regards to retention strategies. So the next section is going to be talking about the current employees that you have And what can we do to make sure that, they're not only, staying loyal to the organization, but they're also a good reference for, future candidates. Retention is not only focusing on making sure that we keep the core people, but they are also going to be the voice of the organization that are going to make sure that we get candidates in the future. Kind of like what Roger stated before, your reputation, the culture that you build, the things that you're doing to your employees, how you're hearing them, that communication piece, goes a long way. Sometimes, we fail to see that. The organization can get a little bit busy. I think this is kind of one of the things that happens a lot just with any company, and manufacturing in specific. Everything moves at a fast pace. Sometimes, we're being more reactive than we're being proactive. So the key here is retaining employees. What is the benefit of doing that? Not only in regards to, helping the company overall, but necessarily taking care of our employees as well, because we are moving so fast. As we know, our people are the company's greatest assets. We need to make sure that we have that workforce that is engaged, that promotes the company brand. So we're big on the culture. And the only reason why we're saying brand is because sometimes we lose jobs the minute that, somebody hears that a particular brand is hiring. Why? Because a reputation follows them, because they have already built this type of organization that people are attracted to. You hear the name, you think, I'm going there right away. I know you guys mentioned a lot fast food service. I personally, even just as a consumer, I hear Chick-fil-A and I'm thinking that just seems like a great company to work for. I've never applied there. I just see the employees. They look engaged, they look happy. So what is happening in some organizations to make sure that those employees have their needs that are being met? We can sit here and we can talk about, anything that you and I feel that might be necessary for an organization to make sure that their employees are being listened to, but are we really listening? Are we really putting the question out there? One of the biggest things that we do for some of our clients when we do run into those situations is providing them access to surveys. Have you guys ever done a survey for your employees? Surveys, and again, everything comes kind of in how you provide the survey. Are you going to be able to log into this survey via your mobile device? Is it going to be user friendly? We like to take that and make sure that the way that we are presenting something to an employee is going to be attractive for them as well. If you're presenting service to employees, are you actually gathering that information and reviewing it specifically and saying, you know what, I'm going to act on this item, and this is something that we're going to take into consideration going forward? We're not going to do surveys for employees, or we would never recommend something if this is not an action item for you to do. If this is something that you're only going to see and put to the side, then we definitely do not want to hear people's opinion, because that's going to be the first thing that they're going to say. You ask us, we tell you, and nothing is done. So what are the things that we're looking for in order to retain employees? I know one of the last things that Roger mentioned was, maybe having tier levels within your organization. But have we thought outside of the box? Have we thought about ways where, maybe in manufacturing, there's not many levels where you can move up to. So we're going to discuss a little bit, what's non-hierarchical. And basically it's promotion pay that's not based on a title, but it's based on productivity or the value that they're bringing to the organization. So everything is level set. A generation is moving. So now so the generation that is moving along, the generation that's retiring from your organizations, you're not having that anymore. So you can't promote to those. Those seem kind of like easier ways to promote to. Now we have newcomers coming in. What are they expecting? They are expecting something completely different. Millennials expect, to have their opinions heard. I think, every time we hear something, it's like, oh, everybody feels like they have a new idea, that they feel that they can make it to the top of the organization. So what we're hearing here is that growth and innovation doesn't necessarily come from the people with lofty titles anymore, but from the people who develop new ideas. Are you taking their opinions into consideration? A definite shift in the traditional career arc is taking place here. And in addition to careers of advancement, there are now increasingly careers of achievement. So it's kind of knowing the audience that we have going forward that's going to help us succeed in the future. One of the biggest things is having trusting and transparent cultures within the organization. So, here's, for example, there's a Boston-based company that has a bank of monitors, visible, whether it's in the employee break room or whether it's in the hallways when people are walking in to clock in for the day. And the monitors are visible to all the employees. The monitors show monthly revenues, client numbers, so anything that we're selling or soliciting to clients, and then overall customer churn. So anything that's customer based, if we're getting any sort of feedback. This is information that's being posted out there, transparency that, we recommend to have with employees so they know where their mark is, where they're trying to go, and where their company has taken them. Another thing to take into consideration when offering trust and transparency is making sure that the employees are aware also that their contributions to the organization are going to help these numbers succeed. Another thing that you might be asking is, what are the things that we have to be cautious about whenever we're providing too much information? How much information should we provide? I'm pretty sure, any CFOs in the organization are probably going to say, no numbers. We're not presenting numbers, that is confidential. So there could be some liabilities and some things to be cautious about. Transparency is a means, but it's not an end. The goals of any business should be to better its performance and to improve the lives of its employees. So ultimately, you have two things to work on, not just your organization, but making sure that your employees are being taken care of. Because if your employees are being taken care of, you have that level of retention. Retention is costly. Anytime you bring a new employee in, there's training involved. There are hours that are missed, not only by the new employee, but by the person that is training them. So it is cost effective to make sure that we're keeping our employees. The goals of the business, should be just to improve the overall feeling of how the employees want to be retained there. Better performance means that the company is going to be able to deliver more value to the customers than before. So improving the lives of its employees, it's not only rewarding for the people who deliver the results, but it's kind of like a trickle effect to everybody else. What is important? When we talk about, Roger mentioned compensation, it seems like compensation always seems to be the top note for any organization. I mean, how many times have you ever been in an organization and when you ask, are you fairly paid? Are you paid fairly for the job that you do? How many hands are we actually going to see that are rising up? Sometimes it's not necessarily that we're going to meet them halfway on the compensation. It's great if we can, but what are other things that we're able to provide to the employees that are going to be beneficial? Coming from, for example, I have my mother worked in manufacturing. What is the one thing that she has said that was the best thing that has happened for her and why she stays with her organization? Benefits. She has great benefits. Not only are they great benefits for her, their company sponsor benefits, company paid benefits. Doesn't necessarily that you have to pay for everything, but what does that portion look for your organization? For my mother's company, they pay 100% of benefits for the employee only plan, which means, if she were to have, family plan or any other, a spouse plan in there, it would increase, but know your audience, what is going to be important for them, and delivering that transparency and that trust. I know somebody asked a question about diversity. What does diversity look in your organization? So here, is an example of how diversity looks in the workplace. When Harvard Law School admitted its first female students in 1953, the women quickly discovered that the Ivy League school had not provided any bathrooms for them. So what's the message here? You're inviting us in to come be part of your organization. You're saying that we're welcome, but yet you're excluding us in a way. So as the message, don't stay long, the school eventually installed a bathroom, a single toilet, and a janitor's closet in the basement of the building, and that all the female students had to share. So one bathroom. So let's take what diversity means here. Diversity is being invited to the party. Inclusion is being asked to dance, or at least able to go to the bathroom while you're there. So this is the things that we need to take into consideration when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Not necessarily, the type of people that we're hiring. We want to make sure that everybody's included, and not just by hiring numbers or by hiring people, but what are we doing to actually making sure that they are included here? I know a lot of the organizations, I know take, for example, the Pregnancy Act that came into play. The reason why it came into play was because the person that was actually working in a manufacturing company was not getting the same treatment while she was pregnant. So know what your liabilities and what your risks are. Sometimes you're scared to hire somebody that, might not fit into your organization. But what is it that you're actually afraid of? Are there going to be ways that you can overcome, hiring certain people to be part of a certain group? And when you do hire certain people of a certain group, how are we making sure that they feel included? Sometimes that means that we're going to have to shift the ways that we, do meetings. Sometimes it's going to mean that we're going to shift the way, sometimes maybe it's even the events that we're going to host. How are we making sure that we're being diverse in a group where sometimes change does not happen for many years? And so that is where you need to definitely partner with your anybody in HR or any sort of people culture department on how we can make sure that these people are being heard, how they're being felt, because it's not only bringing them on board, but how are we making them feel comfortable in the organization that we're in? Let's face it, your people are your business. They're the heart of what makes your company successful. So when you have the right person in the right place, you experience profitability, performance, and productivity. The three essential things any successful business needs. What are your takeaways in this? You articulate a vision and inspire. Everything comes from the top. When the leadership is showing and demonstrating that they want to be able to retain employees, that they do care, that they keep certain employees, and that they are willing to make changes, you see employees a little bit more engaged. They know that they are wanted, and they do feel that they are included in there. Invest in people and the processes, kind of like what Roger stated earlier. Employ technology that enables, incentivize ideas, teach, creative thinking up or down, and making sure we're going to talk about this a little bit further. But, what can we do to our employees to make sure that they are actually being developed, even in a community where there's not much move for moving forward, whether it's moving into a different tier or into a different part of the organization. Another big one is constant feedback. Retaining employees, and especially in this day and age, people want to know whether they're doing good or bad. Communication can be simple. It can be just reactions. Again, feedback from, your leadership. I know that I've been in organizations where I feel a little bit more welcome, more engaged whenever our leadership team comes and says hello, or, actually feels like they want to be part of that organization, not necessarily feels like their title and who they are in the organization is above everybody else. They want to be part of a team. Sometimes it's just updates. Sometimes it's feedback that, involves in, company meetings. Feedback is important to every generation, but the need for constant feedback is association with millennials mostly. As you know, a lot of, Roger was stating, millennials right now are in kind of the state market of being on social media. We are not going to say that we encourage for you to post about employees in social media unless it's something specific. You have employees of the month, do you want to post them out there? People are proud of the awards that they receive. Whether you post it on Instagram, post it on Facebook, people like to see that they're being acknowledged. So we need to make sure that we have that constant feedback, whether it's good or bad, whether it's during an annual review or midway review, or even after 90 days, that we're keeping people informed on what they're doing right. And most importantly, what they need assistance with and how we can help them get there. In manufacturing, do we think that learning and development is important? Yes, getting employees up to speed and helping them attain a certain minimum level of proficiency is a must-do. Employees should already have the basic knowledge, at least when they're starting, and the skills they need for their job that you're hiring them for. But training on how it's done at your particular company and ensuring they keep up with the required certifications and trainings is a bare minimum expectation of a company. So how can you take it to the next level? Maybe it's creating a learning culture. It's about stretching beyond current capabilities. Can you partner with a specific organization that can provide skills that are not necessarily things that you're going to need in your organization, but that they can take to some other company? Why do you want to teach somebody skills that they can learn somewhere else? Because that leaves a lasting impression in your organization. Whenever somebody is going to refer somebody to your organization, they can not only say that they're growing within your company, but they can sometimes say that they're growing to be something else outside of your organization. I know that the best careers that I've had in my life are where I'm actually given the autonomy to learn something that, yes, it's in my wheelhouse, maybe not particularly where I'm working, but it's something that I'm going to be able to take somewhere else. Do you have funds for your employees to take courses outside of the organization? I know sometimes English as a second language, something very basic that there are free classes in community colleges, that are free courses online, something that you can promote where you show that you want your employees to actually move and succeed forward. We at Insperity actually help our clients build curriculums for employees. We talk to employees one-on-one during the reviews, not necessarily about how good they've done throughout the year, but what their goals are moving forward. And when we meet people where their goals are, sometimes their goals are not going to be necessarily within our organization. But if it's something that we can help them attain for the near future, we can actually retain them to make sure that we're getting them there. And not only are we retaining them, but we're also getting those referrals for somebody else to come in. Having a referral program, might be also a necessity for our organization. And that can look very different for different companies and for different time periods. But working on a personal development is also the most essential part of retaining employees. Where do they see themselves? What do they want to do? Sometimes employees do not tell you automatically, but if you have those sit-down conversations with them, whether it's during review time, whether it's just one-on-one conversations, whether it's whenever you're noticing something that they're doing, make sure that you're actually visualizing that whenever you're talking to people, that you're noticing things that are happening and doing, so you can provide that feedback of where you think they can go to the next level. Seek out online development courses or virtual trainings or even in-house trainings for people. If you don't have a succession plan, totally fine. You can do cross-training. I think that's very important. People want to learn different areas. Not only do they want to learn different areas so they can be available to work in other departments, sometimes people might just want to jump in and they just want to learn new things. Make sure that you're encouraging them. Make sure that you're exploring them, and that there's team trainings, and that you're actually, the biggest key here is communication, that you're listening. You're listening to what people want to make sure that you're actually retaining them. The best tools matter. They not just, it's not just tech, but the environment, the workplace. I know we talked a lot about, how are you keeping up? How is technology being for you? But how does your break room look? Is the workspace something that they look forward to? Do they, sometimes it's providing just a water machine that has a filter, in for your employees. What do the employees actually want? What do you see them asking for? What do you think that they're complaining about? Making sure that their environment is comfortable. Amenities such as, having in-house gyms. If you cannot have an in-house gym, is there any way that you can partner with somebody outside, maybe a gym that's nearby, and say, hey, can we do some sort of collaboration where we pay $10 out of the $20 per month fee for our employees? Those little incentives can go a long way depending on the type of culture that you want to build. Can you provide a game room? Do you think if providing a game room would, keep employees from actually being at work? Or, is it something fun for them to do and distract them because they're so overworked, or, they're having a bad day? Just like the rest of us, job seekers love choices. So when it comes to your workplace, give employees option as to how and where they can work. It's more and more businesses, are offering telecommuting or remote working options. If that's not something that, looks like we can do as an organization, what are other ways that we can work outside of the box where we can actually have some sort of flexibility for our employees? 2 strategies that businesses should consider are upskilling and mentoring. Upskilling refers to just the process of teaching current employees new skills. And it can benefit the employer in a number of ways, but it also benefits the employee, like we stated, on their own personal level. So upskilling, it increases the employee's value to the company, and it sends a message that they have a place in the company's future. And secondly, it's an integral part of the succession planning and preparing employees to move into those key roles, so you at least know that somebody is ready and prepared for that. And mentoring. How many people do not like to actually have somebody, pick your best employee, the employee that, develops, and the employee that actually emphasizes what the core values of your organization are. Pick those employees to be mentors, to help employees. When you have a new hire, have some employees take them along the way. Let this be their buddy, throughout the system for a good 30, 60 days. This also not only alleviates, a manager from doing, constantly being on top of new hires, but this also gives a person a sense of value. You value the work that they're doing, so they're actually mentoring other people within the organization. Energizing their career paths. What does that really mean? Is it, it's by providing opportunities for growth and development. So your top performers need you as their advocate. They need you to ensure their visibility within the organization. So be vocal in making their achievements known. Celebrate employee successes, their milestones. If you have, an organization that has people that are retiring, what does a retirement package look like for them? If you have milestones, besides just the birthdays and the anniversaries, what other milestones are you celebrating? What are the things are you making your organization be put out there as the type of place that you want to work for other people? Support the development and the advancement of employees, even if it means that they will be outside of your area for, for the next year or two. But make sure that, you are keeping and retaining these people by letting them know that they are valued and they will be valued when they leave the organization. Leadership starts at the top through modeling behavior. So as leaders, we need to look at our own engagement and our own work dedication to provide a clear path for opportunities and performance goals for your employees and anything that they are seeking here. We wanted to throw out just a few numbers about what surveys are doing nowadays, in attracting employees. The Society of Human Resources Management shows that employees want flexibility, and some show that they are willing to take a salary reduction in order to have this type of flexibility. Almost half of the surveys say they would choose to work remotely if possible to improve their mental health. If manufacturing does not offer, some sort of flexibility or some sort of remote work that's foreign language for us, what can we do to employees to make sure that they're getting that extra time off? Are we providing a good PTO package? Are we providing good sick policies? Especially during this time when COVID is popping up again, is the message that, hey, COVID was 2 years ago, so we no longer have a sick policy. So if you're sick, that goes out the window? Or are we still promoting that, hey, we do care about you as the employee, as well as everybody around us, and we're going to continue to have a sick policy for you? Or is it somewhere where you can actually work around people's schedules? I know Roger mentioned this earlier, do our work days do they have to look Monday through Friday, 7 to 3, 7 to 5, whatever the case might be? Or could we do the same work and shift schedules? Have some people work Monday through Thursday, 10-hour shifts, so they can get an extra Friday off, or add an extra hour through a work day so they can get some free time on the last day. People like having extra days off. I mean, who can actually perform everything they need to do on just Saturday and Sunday? I raise my hand, but I cannot. Some people like that flexibility. Could they come in later on Monday if they actually work an extra hour on Tuesday? Flexibility does not always have to be remote. It's what fits best for your organization. So again, remote and flexibility have been the highest ones. And although we say that this might not be something that works in manufacturing, we got to look at our employees and talk to our employees. What actually looks flexible to you? If remote is a possibility with your office staff, could you do that? Could you offer them that kind of flexibility to do remote work half a day, or have the flexibility that if they have a doctor's appointment, that they're able to work remote, to your admin staff? Flexibility for your employees, who have doctor's appointments or need to leave by a certain time. Hey, we're going to give you, so much sick time for your doctor's appointments. You just let us know in advance. How do these policies look to make sure that we're assisting and helping kind of our employees meet that flexibility? Because I think everybody hears it right now when people are hiring and looking for jobs, but how can we do it to make sure that we're helping people in the manufacturing industry? And I think one of the last ones is recognition. Building a recognition and reward program that focuses and reinforces the values and behaviors you want your employees to demonstrate and that are going to help your company's culture. This means that you need to think beyond just celebrating birthdays and anniversaries, like we said. Those are important forms of appreciation, and they help foster a sense of community still. You want to have that community within. Just remember that employees want to feel that the work that they do makes a positive contribution to their team, which ultimately makes a positive impact to the company's overall mission and values. Regular feedback from their manager is a first step. Do we have the right people in management place? Not necessarily we're saying management, just to make sure that we're getting the bad apples, out of the organization. But do we have the right managers who are actually looking at the overall picture of our organization and are either taking care of our employees, but also helping our employees if needed? Regular feedback is much appreciated by any generation, not just by our old generation, our baby boomers, but our Gen Z and our Gen X as well. Like feedback, recognition needs to be continuous, and it needs to be just a continuous effort that starts from the leadership and goes all the way down. It's a team that agrees on and promotes, and otherwise is not going to have the effect that you want if it's not started from the top. So ultimately is, what are we doing to retain the employees? Because retaining our employees not only sends out a positive message to anybody outside who is looking for somebody or a company to be a family for, but retention is also cost saving in order to not have high turnover with our organization. And from here, we're going to end our session. Does anybody have any questions?
Hey, Nadia, thanks a lot for the presentation. Also to you, Roger. I know we're already 6 minutes over the time. That's why I would prefer if we could take on the offer on having maybe a written response later on for the questions.
Okay.
I believe Nikki already had wrote them down.
Yeah.
And then the only question I would have for Joyce would be, how do we get that to the group? Can that be added later when we distribute the video to the people who registered, or how can we do that?
The video will be sent to everybody that registered, along with any other information you need me to send.
Okay, so Nikki, if you can send it to me and I can
Yeah.
share that with Joyce, and then we can make sure that we have that in there. Thank you
Okay.
both, really appreciate it. Very good presentation. I hope everybody had some good insights through this, and will be able to apply that to their roles as well. I believe we should have Nikki's contact information here as well now. So if anybody has follow-up questions, like, not necessarily related to the presentation, please make sure to contact Nikki. He's out here in the Dallas area, where I'm located at.
Yes, and I promise I won't give you any HR advice. I'll leave that up to Nadia and Roger. So that's don't worry about that.
Thank
But
you,
yeah,
Nikki.
no,
We
we
appreciate that.
absolutely. Well, we appreciate you guys jumping on. So hopefully it was a good use of your time, and thank you for the opportunity, Chris and Scott.